This is Cashing Out on VSiN, the sports betting network.
All right, let's have some fun. It's a new hour, Cashing Out with Joe Ceraulo, and we've got a lot to get to. Monday, NBA playoffs. We've got breaking news in the NFL from the weekend on the retirement front. A whole lot of baseball to bet and keep making money on. We're finally heating up on the diamond after a slow April. It is going to be a jam-packed, action-packed hour of the big show. Great guests, too. Our buddy Nick Whalen going to join us here shortly, and we'll break down the NBA playoffs alongside Nick. You can catch him, of course, Prop Points, 2 to 3 p.m. Eastern, right here on VSiN, and check out his terrific work also over at RotoWire as well. But it was a fun weekend of action. NBA playoffs, not the best games. Hockey, sensational. Great action-packed Stanley Cup playoffs action. I mean, Vegas, Edmonton, Game 3, quite literally, no hyperbole, coming down to the final second in Edmonton. Road team 3-0 that series. I've got thoughts on that Game 4 to come, but I've got thoughts on a certain Game 4 at Madison Square Garden. My New York Knicks taking on the Boston Celtics and coming off an embarrassing no-show Game 3 at home. I think that might have been the kick in the you-know-what that the New York Knicks needed. I'll quote Dean Martin. I'll call it a kick in the head. But you know what I mean. The Knicks needed that wake-up call. They needed to be brought to their knees by that kick. Because I think the New York Knicks, let's call it what it is, had been gifted opportunities. I'm not going to say gifted wins, but gifted opportunities to come back in games 1 and 2. I think the Knicks needed a wake-up call. That this series could have just as easily been 2-1 Boston, maybe even 3-0 Boston, as it is 2-1 New York. And at some point, you have got to defend your home court, especially when you play at a place they call the Mecca. Because right now, Madison Square Garden feels more like the home of the St. John's Red Storm than it does the New York Knicks. The New York Knicks have lost 3 straight games this postseason at MSG. They won Game 1 against Detroit, and frankly, Detroit outplayed the Knicks for about the first 2.5 quarters. They obviously used that massive 21-0 run to catapult themselves to victory. Then they dropped Game 2. Then they dropped Game 5 with a chance to clinch. Now you can say, oh, on the bright side, the Knicks are 5-0 on the road this postseason. And guess what? That's true, and that's great, and that's good and well. Defend your damn home court sooner rather than later, because you might run out of opportunities to defend it. I'll tell you what. If the Knicks lose Game 4, they ain't going to be undefeated on the road anymore because they're going to drop Game 5 in Boston and then probably the series as a whole. This is such an important game. And call me crazy, but I'll venture to say this is more important for the team that's up 2-1 in the series than the team that's down 2-1 because of what you're dealing with, the experience in the postseason that you're dealing with, the ability for Boston to go just as hot from beyond the arc as they've gone cold at times from beyond the arc. This Game 4 is more crucial for New York than the Celtics. Boston can go down 3-1, and I think a lot of people would have more confidence in the Celtics' ability to win the series down 3-1 than the Knicks' ability to win the series tied 2-2, shifting going to Boston for a Game 5. So I expect the Knicks to come out with that urgency Jalen Brunson spoke of following the Game 3 loss. To come out with the realization that, hey, 2-0 doesn't mean anything's a given, right? Ask Brunson, because he was there last year when the Knicks were up 2-0 over Indiana, and then they lost the series in 7. At home, by the way, at Madison Square Garden for that Game 7. Now, look, I'll cut him some slack now a year later, because even though I thought it was an inexcusable loss at the time, the Knicks were dropping like flies that series. I mean, that team was so banged up and so injured, and the icing on top was Brunson going down Game 7 with the massive injury he suffered there. So that Knicks team had a lot of injuries where it just felt after that hard-fought win opening round against Philly, too good to be true. And it was. This team doesn't have those issues. This team is healthy. This team is slightly differently constructed. And right now what this team has to do is abuse Boston in the post. Don't get into a pissing match of threes with the Boston Celtics, because even though they were 25 for 100 games 1 and 2, you're very unlikely to beat them in a 3-point shootout game 4. Use your size. Abuse them in the post. Kristaps Porzingis is banged up. He's sick. He's got everything working against him right now. Target him. Have Cat get a little more physical than he's accustomed to being. Have Mitchell Robinson in there simultaneously with Cat at times. Boston doesn't have the size to compete with the Knicks. They've got the shooters, and they've got versatile, playmakers and wings and guards, and Jason Tatum certainly does a little bit of everything. But at the end of the day, if you can target KP, right? Horford at this point in his career, he's a quote-unquote big who likes to hang around the perimeter more than he likes to bang bodies. If you can go after Porzingis, you can beat the Celtics. And then the threes will come. But establish your success and your dominance in the post first. The threes will follow. Once you establish success down low, and at the pace that they're playing at, in incredibly slow paces here, especially in game 3, you can win with twos when you're playing this slow. Control the tempo, establish your dominance down near the rim, and then you'll be able to kick it out to Brunson, to Anunoby, to Bridges, and the threes will come, and the good open looks from beyond the arc will follow. But you gotta establish your post presence first. And I think in the prop market, there's a guy, not on paper a big, but who plays a lot bigger than his 6'4" frame, who I think should be targeted to go over 11.5 points. And that is Josh Hart. I think Josh Hart, in order for the Knicks to have any success, and that's the side I lean in this one. Look, I lean Knicks money line at 2-1 or better, and our buddies over at ProfitX have it plus 220 right now. It's the best price I'm seeing. I really strongly lean the Knicks catching 6.5, because we've seen that zigzag effect throughout these NBA playoffs where team loses one game, they cover the next. I think this is mispriced. The fact that the Knicks are actually bigger underdogs in game 4 than they were in game 3, I vehemently disagree with. So I'm leaning Knicks money line. I am strongly passionate about Knicks plus 6.5, but I love, and I am playing Josh Hart over 11.5 points. I think Josh Hart has got to show up in a big way, like he did game 2, like he did down the stretch game 1. And Bridges obviously played hero down the stretch in each of those games after being MIA side of a milk carton status for the first 36 minutes. I think Josh Hart is a guy to target. Because if the Knicks are going to have success penetrating the paint, Josh Hart is going to be paramount in that success. His ability to slash, to crash the offensive glass, especially when they go small ball and Mitch is on the bench. When Mitch Robinson's on the bench, you can argue Josh Hart pound for pound, inch for inch. When you look at size, best rebounder on the floor for the Knicks. Cat, obviously going to average more boards. Josh Hart, though, his athleticism, his ability to get in there and bump elbows and crash the glass with the best of them, he is such an X factor. And you look at lines with Brunson and Cat, and sometimes they get inflated, and they've got the star power, and that's all good and well. I'm looking at Josh Hart to play a big piece, whether it's slashing, creating space, backdoor cuts, or just putbacks off the offensive glass. Over 11.5 points from Josh Hart is my favorite play in the prop market for this one. By the way, I also really like that Celtics team total to go under, and there will be more on that to come. But you're coming off of game 3 where they shot fantastically from beyond the arc, and they still only put up $115. The pace was really slow, right? I'm not going to go out there and pat the Knicks defense on the back, but the pace was really slow. And the Celtics shot really efficiently, and they still only cleared this mark by 7 points. I think we're primed for a low-scoring game. I lean under on the game, and I lean under on the Celtics team total, which will continue on a little bit later on here in the hour. Folks, Edge Boost is the first ever bank account that is built for bettors, ensuring that all gambling transactions get approved. That means no usage fees, no minimums, means you can earn cash back rewards, get 100% approval for all betting deposits. So what are you waiting for? Sign up today. edgeboost.bet. Use the promo code CASH. Deposit $25. EdgeBoost will match it. That's edgeboost.bet. How about the Colorado Rockies, folks? Are we going to see back-to-back years where a baseball team sets the record for worst winning percentage in the modern era? I mean, this Colorado Rockies team is an absolute disgrace, an embarrassment, a disaster. And then, following a loss by 3 touchdowns on Saturday to the San Diego Padres, the Rockies come out on Sunday. They're $3 underdogs. The run line is set at 3.5, and you're still not getting plus money laying that with San Diego. And they lay one on a guy who, throughout the first 6 weeks of the season, has been one of the best pitchers out there, Nick Pivetta. 9-3. Herman Marquez looked dominant. The guy's ERA was over 9 coming into action. And after that big win to cap off the weekend and enjoy Mother's Day, they fire Bud Black. Look, was this separation needed? Probably. But I would say that this separation was needed more by Bud Black than it was by the Colorado Rockies. The Colorado Rockies' incompetence has had nothing to do with who is managing the team, and it's got everything to do with the ownership and the front office out there in Denver. You've got a gorgeous stadium, you're making money, fans are still showing up, and you've refused to spend $1 since Chris Bryant because you handed out a big contract to him and he broke. That is not how you run a team. Scared money don't make money, and the Colorado Rockies, everything they do, looks scared out there. What an embarrassment. More to come. Cashing Out with Joe Ceraulo. Don't go anywhere.
If your job at a healthcare facility includes disinfecting against viruses, you know prevention is the best medicine. And maintaining healthy spaces starts with a healthy cleaning routine. Grainger's world-class supply chain helps ensure you have the quality products you need when you need them. From disinfectants and cleaning supplies to personal protective equipment, so you can help deliver a clean bill of health. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Out here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Cashing Out continues with myself, Joe Ceraulo, starting your work week off in the best way possible with a special birthday edition. Happy birthday to our sensational producer, Jared Moore, celebrating with us right here on Cashing Out. The guy could be anywhere in the world. He could be on a boat on a yacht off the coast of Croatia right now. Yet instead, he is celebrating with us right here, right now on Cashing Out. So happy birthday to our incredible producer, Jared Moore. And it is time, I'll try to take it easy on him because it's his birthday, for a special birthday edition of More On or Moron, where we see if our producer, Jared Moore, the birthday boy, is onto something or if he's just a moron. Let's start NBA. Knicks, Celtics, Game 4. Jared is on to the Celtics laying 6.5 and the team total over 107.5. Now, these were originally presented as straight plays, but as Jared has pointed out to me during the last commercial break, if you parlay them together, and I've got my little DraftKings app open here, on DK, it's plus 156. Celtics minus 6.5, team total over 107.5. So you might look at that and you might say, wow, plus $1.56, that's great. I look at that and I say, are you a moron? That's not plus 156. That's a big fat loss if you parlay those together. I absolutely hate those plays. And I'll tell you which one I hate the most, and we alluded to this not too long ago. Celtics team total. I am all over that under 107.5 on the Boston team total. Even if they win, even if the Knicks can't buy a bucket and they cover, I think the Celtics are more likely to win this one 102-93 than they are by a similar score that they did Game 3. Even if they cover, I think this game has low-scoring affair written all over it. I don't think the Celtics are going to shoot with the same success that they did from beyond the arc in game 3 here in this one, game 4. And look, I don't think they're going to shoot as poorly as they did games 1 or 2, but I think you're going to get a bit of a middle here. And Boston, game 3, despite being, lights out from deep, only eclipsed this mark, 107.5, by 7 points. That's not fantastic. That's not sensational, right? If their three-point shooting takes a little dip, I think the Knicks, and I've said this and I'll reiterate, have a clear advantage in the post. So I don't think Boston's going to be able to penetrate with ease. And they're going to rely, I think, again, more heavily on three-point shooting like they had the first 3 games of the series. And I think that they're going to make a few less than they did game 3. So I'm on that team total under. I think if you go team total over 107.5 here, you're buying at the top of the market and you're a big old moron. Let's talk about the nightcap. Wolves, Warriors, what does Jared like here? Anthony Edwards, over 34.5 points and rebounds. Ooh. Mr. Moore, I think you're onto something here. I think Anthony Edwards, the Ant-Man, is exactly who you want to back. And I know sometimes it's tough backing star players in the prop market because you get inflated numbers, right? And I spoke about this last segment with the New York Knicks and how I don't want to look at Jalen Brunson or Karl Anthony Towns props. Give me Josh Hart in the Knicks game, right? I think with Minnesota, the way the Warriors look right now, with how banged up they are, a little different story. Ant-Man's heating up. He had that embarrassing start to the series, had the first half where he had 1 point in game 1. Now all of a sudden, Edwards finding his rhythm. He's shooting better every game as the series progresses. And oh, by the way, if he has a bit of an off night offensively, he's one of those guys, and this is what I love about Anthony Edwards, right? And people could complain about him and say at times he's juvenile and the technical fouls and the gestures. This is what I love about Anthony Edwards. And this, more so than the immaturity that sometimes gets displayed with the gestures, to me, this is a sign of ultimate maturity with a young superstar in this league. And that's if Edwards is not shooting the ball at his best capacity, he's doing the other things. He's finding his teammates. He's grabbing boards. He's playing defense. And so I actually love this combo play because he can go over it on points alone, but if he's not doing that offensively, he can give you 25 and 12. He can give you 20 and 15 for a guy his size on a team with Julius Randle and Rudy Gobert. Anthony Edwards can rebound with the best of them. So I love this combo. I think realistically he's going to go for about 30 and 8. And that would clear this 34.5 points and boards mark. But Mr. Moore, I think you are onto something with this one. All right, let's get to it. Final take from the birthday boy. More on or more on? Let's hit the ice. Jared's area of expertise. Mine, not so much, but I dabble. I dabble in a few things. Vegas, Edmonton. This is a series I'm dabbling in. This is an Edmonton Oilers team I like a hell of a lot. The series to go 7 games plus $1.65. This is interesting because at a price like that, for 2 teams that feel fairly evenly matched, I can't call you a moron, right? But I will say this. If Edmonton goes up 3-2 going home for a game 6, you're a moron to think that Vegas comes out of that alive. So that's how I'll phrase it. I'll say that I can't call you a moron to take 2 really tough, well-matched teams to go 7 games and duke it out plus $1.65. It's a great price. But if you think Vegas facing elimination is going to go to Edmonton potentially for a game 6, should they find themselves down 3-2 entering that game, if you think Vegas wins that game, then I'll put you on the moron bus. Absolutely. Because there is no way that this Oilers team is dropping a game 6 at home when they have a chance to put the Knights away. So I really like this series to go 6, frankly. I think Edmonton, if they lose game 4, I could see it going 7, sure. But I think they win game 4. I think they win game 6. Home teams have been great this postseason, right? Look at Winnipeg. At home, the Jets are 5-1. On the road, they're 0-4, right? Look at this Panthers-Maple Leafs series. They're knotted up at 2. Leafs won them both at home. The Panthers won them both at their home, games 3 and 4. So now you look at total games in Vegas and Edmonton, and it's the favorites, the short shot with good reason. It's only 15 cents shorter. I think 6 games plus $1.50 is the play there. I think I'm going to lay the 30 cents. If I can get 25, it looks like you might be able to in some markets. I think I'm going to lay it with Edmonton to win the game on the money line. I think that I'm going to go series to go 6. Can we go? Is there an exacta? Edmonton? Yeah, Edmonton 4-2. Because if you think this is going 6, you've got to be on Edmonton, right? There's no way you think the Knights, I mean, do the Knights pull a reverse Oilers, right? Oilers beat the Kings. They were down 0-2, won it 4-2. I think if you're going to take this series to go 6, you don't play it to go 6 games plus $1.50. You play Edmonton to win it 4-2 at plus 240, nearly a full dollar better. Look, that was a fun edition, birthday edition. Moron or moron. One profound moron, one profound onto something, and then I like the dialogue that came out of that Vegas-Edmonton series, that discussion there. Here's some dialogue I want to get into. The New Orleans Saints. Derek Carr, shocking the world. Maybe not shocking everyone. Over the weekend, announces his retirement. Very interesting career. Some years where he put up really impressive numbers. Other years where it was like, this is just never a guy who's going to get you to the promised land, get you over the hump. But now it proposes a lot of questions with the New Orleans Saints in the betting market. The Saints quarterback room is currently uglier maybe than the Pittsburgh Steelers. I mean, this quarterback room is a disaster. You've got Tyler Shuck, who is currently minus 200 to take the first snap of the regular season for the Saints. Spencer Rattler, who was 0-6 last year, he's plus $1.50 in that market, by the way. He's the guy I like in that market. And then Jake Haener at 17-1. The Saints don't have a quarterback. The Saints have a rookie head coach who I think made a mistake taking the job and should have pulled a Ben Johnson and waited one more year, enjoyed being on the Super Bowl, the reigning champs, and shopped around for a more enticing, better option a year from now. Because Kellen Moore is going into a terrible situation with no quarterback room. And I'll tell you what, I think the New Orleans Saints, they're not the favorite to do so, but I think they're going to have the worst record in football, the fewest wins in the NFL this season. And you can get that at 5-1. Cleveland's your short shot at plus 475, close enough in price. But I think when you look around a quarterback room with Tyler Shuck and Spencer Rattler and Jake Haener, the best quarterback on the New Orleans Saints is their tight end Taysom Hill. It is an unmitigated disaster in the Big Easy. Nothing's coming easy for that team. 5-1, fewest wins, under 5.5 wins, maybe even alt under 4.5 at plus $1.80. Give me unders every which direction in New Orleans this coming season.
Welcome back to Cashing Out here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Cashing Out continues with me, Joe Ceraulo, taking you through the late hours of your Sunday night, right on into your Monday morning, wrapping up your weekend and starting your work week the best way possible. But it gets even better because we're taking you over to the Progressive Guest Line now to welcome in our friend. Catch him weekdays on Prop Points, 2 to 3 p.m. Eastern. Also check out his terrific work over at RotoWire. Nick Whalen joining us now on the Progressive Guest Line. Nick, how are you, man? How was your weekend?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Good to be back on the show. Love doing this every Sunday night. Obviously, I wish we had a better Pacers-Cavs game that we'll discuss in a little bit here, but no complaints, man. I don't know if this is showing through on the screen, but I got very sunburned this weekend doing some landscaping work at the house, playing some golf. So, hopefully the guys behind the glass can kind of, temper that a little bit. But excited to be here as always, man.
You know, it's funny. I was wondering if my sunburn was coming through. I spent my Sunday afternoon down at Malibu. Not quite as manly as golf and landscaping. But, I drove down to the coast, and all of a sudden I was like, got to get that one initial burn to start the summer, and then the Italian genes kick in after that first burn. But we'll get to that Pacers-Cavs game. We'll get to the NBA playoffs. I know you just heard me talking about Derek Carr's retirement and the absolute disaster That is the New Orleans Saints. Nick, I got to ask you, man, what do you make of this quarterback room? Who do you think, and obviously, I mean, it's going to be open competition in the preseason. Who do you think is going to be the week one starter there? And at 5-1, would you take the Saints for fewest wins in the NFL this season?
Oh, I would think about that. That is not a market that I had explored. I was poking around the win total, which DraftKings now kind of lets you set your own number. So there's not necessarily a here's the number out there, but it's basically 5.5 if you kind of look at the market. And I think there's a world in which this is finally the year that the Saints take that big step back that we've probably felt like is coming for a while. It's a team that hasn't made the playoffs in 4 consecutive years. That is not going to change in 2025. I think they'll make that 5 in a row. And, they've been as all in as anybody, for essentially the last decade plus. And, pulling all these cap maneuvers to try to roll things over and go all in every single year. And it hasn't really paid off, right? I didn't really understand the decision to extend Alvin Kamara midway through last season. He just feels like he doesn't really fit the direction that this team is heading. And, now you're just in a world of trouble with no Derek Carr. Not that you're that excited about this team with Derek Carr, but you're left with what? Tyler Shuck, Spencer Rattler, and Jake Haener. And that's it. I don't know if they look elsewhere, right? Are you ready to just hand it to Tyler Shuck immediately? It's like if Joe Flacco gets cut by the Cleveland Browns, do they look in that direction? Could we see some sort of bridge situation for a team that does always want to maximize in the short term? I mean, it's brutal, man. If you want to look at it from a fantasy perspective, for somebody like Chris Olave, this is a nightmare. That's really about it. It's Olave and Kamara as far as guys that you're interested in that offense. But I know Tyler Shuck is old. I know he has experience. I don't know that the sell with him was ever, okay, he's going to be ready to rock and be an even average or close to average NFL starting quarterback right away. So I think this is going to be a very, very bad team.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned Flacco potentially getting cut there, because I feel like if that was to happen, it would be weeks into the season. It wouldn't be, in the summertime. Flacco's currently neck and neck with Pickett on the odds board to take the first snap of the season for Cleveland. Pickett's plus 120. Flacco, I gave this out weeks ago at 4-1. He's now plus 130 to take the first snap. I think he's the week one starter in Cleveland personally. For the Saints, the odds are Tyler Shuck minus 200, Rattler plus 150, Haener 17-1. I'd probably go Spencer Rattler plus 150. There's murmurs of Aaron Rodgers, by the way. I can't see a world in which Aaron Rodgers wants to go to a team that'll finish behind the Carolina Panthers in the standings.
I don't see that either. I know that's been batted around. And look, we don't really know what Aaron Rodgers is thinking right now. But if your two options are the New Orleans Saints and the Pittsburgh Steelers, and you choose that you want to play football in 2025, I mean, to me, that is the ultimate no-brainer, right? I don't know what you'd be signing up for to play for the Saints. You have one team that's probably ready to do what they do every year and win 10 games and lose in the wild card, which if you're Aaron Rodgers, maybe you're fine with that. It's better than what happened the last 2 years with the New York Jets. But no, Rodgers doesn't seem desperate to me to want to just stick around in the NFL, and he'll just take any job available, right? Like that would be completely out of character, I think, with how this whole process has gone. So I don't think he's going to be an option necessarily for the Saints. I do like your call on Rattler just because he has experience. He started for this team before, right? We see this every year with these rookie quarterbacks, whether they're drafted in the top 5 or drafted in the second round, like Tyler Shuck. They always tell us, well, we're going to bring them along slowly, right? We're going to give as much experience watching as we can. What always happens? 2-3 weeks into the season, there's that pressure from the fan base, there's the pressure from the media, and all of a sudden that guy is out there. But I don't think there's going to be overwhelming pressure for Tyler Shuck to start immediately, right? Because of the type of prospect that he is, because of where he was drafted. I certainly think he makes several starts next season, but I think you're onto something with that Rattler call. That's not a bad one.
Yeah, something tells me the fans down there in New Orleans aren't going to be clamoring or pressuring the front office to get Tyler Shuck there in a game. I don't think jersey sales are going to be all that high for the rookie quarterback, who I think is older than me, if I'm not mistaken. Nick, let's get to Monday's NBA playoff games. My Knicks hosting Boston, Game 4. Trying to avoid going 0-2 at MSG and being tied at 2-2 going up to the other Garden. They're catching 6.5. They're 2-1 on the money line. Can the Knicks pull this one off like Indiana did?
I could see it. I could see it. Now, the question is, now that the Celtics have finally had their kind of back to normal shooting game, right? They had 23s in game 3. Is this the start of something, or do we go back to game 1, game 2, Boston, where it feels like there'll be a 7 or 8 minute run where they can't miss, and then there's a 8 or 9 minute run where they can't make anything? I mean, that was really the first time in this series that I felt like the Celtics looked like the Celtics that we've come to know for the last 2 years from start to finish. But you look at the Knicks in game 3, they were awful. Shot just 40% from the field as a team. They were bad from 3-point range. Another one of those games we've had so many of them in these playoffs, including one tonight that just felt over immediately. And obviously the Knicks have made 2 crazy comebacks already in the series. You didn't get the sense that was going to happen for a third straight night. I will say the Porzingis piece of this is I think really matters. I think Porzingis is what takes this team from a great team to a really, really great team to like one of the best rosters that we've seen in the NBA over the last decade plus. And Porzingis just not looking like himself, not being healthy, playing limited minutes off the bench. I think that is, something that the Knicks can exploit as the series goes along. We've seen Mitchell Robinson give them good minutes. Cat has come alive offensively over these last 2 games. So I won't be surprised if the Knicks hang around here. More of a stay away for me. I would lean Boston if I had to pick it. Would also lean under on the total. I mean, this series, Joe, is being played at a borderline glacial pace. Game 3 was 86 possessions per 48 minutes. 86. The 2005 Detroit Pistons, which is like the team that you think of playing slowly, they played at a faster pace than 86 possessions per 48. Wow. So I think the Knicks have at least succeeded in kind of turning this into a rock fight type of series. I think that does benefit them. Now, in terms of some props that I'm keeping an eye on, looking at Towns, over 11.5 boards, minus 135. I think it's a pretty fair price for a guy who's gone over that in 4 straight games. Drew Holiday, over 7.5 assists plus rebounds. I like that number. Blowout factor is the risk here. If you do like Boston, played just 25 minutes in game 3, but still got to 6 rebounds plus assists. And then Josh Hart, over 20.5 points plus boards. This is one I'm still batting around, but he had gone over in 5 straight prior to game 3. And again, if you think we get a competitive game 4, it could be a 41, 42, 43-minute night for him.
Yeah, Josh Hart's been sensational, so crucial to any success this team has. Look, Brunson and Towns are going to put up the points, but I mean, if I'm not mistaken, Hart was right up there among the leading scorers game 2. I believe he put up 23 in that comeback win. We'll get to the Wolves-Warriors game in just a minute, but folks, want to remind you that smarter bets start right here, and they last all year long with VSiN Pro. For a limited time, we're slashing the price of our annual subscription, normally $240, now just $199. And when you sign up today, you're getting an extra 2 months free. That's 14 months VSiN Pro access for less than 50 cents a day with the promo code PRO. That includes daily best bets from our hosts and guests, exclusive splits from DraftKings and Circa, 24/7 video, plus replays on the VSiN Watch app. So go to VSiN.com/subscribe now, promo code PRO, and lock in your 14 months of VSiN Pro for just $1.99. VSIN.com/subscribe. Nick Whalen with us, co-host of Prop Points on the network, 2 to 3 p.m. Eastern on weekdays. Nick, final 75 seconds or so here, my man. Warriors, Wolves, no Steph. Is this going to be another Minnesota win in the Bay Area?
I think it is. But, man, you come out of game 3 and you're just like, all right, well, you got the result that you wanted if you're Minnesota. But the Wolves just keep making this series, I think, harder than it needs to be. I guess, credit to what Golden State has been able to throw at them defensively. But, man, I mean, the Warriors can't do anything on offense. We had another low total that's now under 200 for this game. I think I'd like to see Minnesota push the pace a little bit more as the series goes along. They didn't really get anything in transition on Saturday in game 3. I think that's an area that they can exploit. One thing that we have talked about and we talked about coming into the series was Julius Randle, and he's continued to play really well. I think you have an aggressive version of Julius Randle. You have Anthony Edwards seemingly getting some confidence back in that jump shot in game 3. I like Minnesota. The thing is, Minnesota doesn't even have to play well to win these games, Joe. You look at who Golden State is throwing out there right now. You got Jimmy Butler. He's fantastic. You have a 3-point specialist in Buddy Hield. You're starting 2 non-scorers, and you have Brandon Podziemski in the starting lineup who can't buy a basket, and you have no options off the bench. So I don't even have that much faith in Minnesota, but Golden State's going to struggle to get to 90, 95 points the rest of this series as long as Steph is out.
Nick, I'm with you, my man. More winners, more picks, more cashing out up next. Don't go anywhere. It's VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Welcome back to Cashing Out here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
All right, welcome back. Cashing Out with Joe Ceraulo, getting you ready to start your week. No better way to do so. We've got a jam-packed, fun Monday ahead of us. It's a day that ends in Y, so I've got plays on the diamond coming at you. I've got a prop in the NBA playoffs. I've got some action on the ice. How about that? We're going to have some fun, whether it's playoff hoops, playoff hockey, or just some good old regular season baseball, which, by the way, need to make this obligatory statement. Quick soapbox for a second. You need a day game. I know Sunday's the travel day. I get it. We need one day game, right? I mean, you could pick a team that doesn't have to go too far. We need some day baseball to start the week. I mean, think about it. Primetime kicks around. You got playoff hoops, playoff hockey. Why is there no day baseball at all on the slate? You got St. Louis going right up the road from Washington to Philadelphia. Piece of cake travel. Was a day game Sunday. Could easily have done Cardinals-Philly, although Phillies did play Sunday Night Baseball. We cashed that out, by the way. Run line, not even money, plus 110 with Zach Wheeler on the bump, thanks to a late 2-run shot by Kyle Schwarber. But there have got to be some spots somewhere. Pirates-Mets could have been a day game. Pittsburgh to New York, easy travel. The Mets played the super early Sunday game at noon. I mean, you need day baseball, at least one game every day. But we've got the schedule, we've got the slate. Let's give out some bets. Let's dive in to the VSiN Daily Morning Bets. We're starting the VSiN Daily Morning Bets off with NBA playoff action. And this might be my favorite prop throughout the NBA playoffs thus far, because I just think, plain and simple, it's the wrong number. Josh Hart, 11.5 points coming in. Any success the Knicks have, and I think they will have success in this game 4, because this is a must-win. You are entering, I know it's crazy, you're up 2-1 in the series. You're entering must-win territory. You got to defend your home court. Who better, pun fully intended, to fully display Hart when your team needs it than Josh Hart? This guy has been so integral to any postseason success the Knicks have had the last 2 years. And you're giving us 11.5 points, minus 125 to the over. He had 14 and 23 games 1 and 2. He played 43 plus minutes those 2 games. He had 10 in game 3, just a bucket shy of going over this mark, but he only played 34 minutes, down 9 and 11 minutes from his game 1 and 2 output because it was such a blowout. Game 4 is not going to be a blowout. That means Josh Hart's going to be out there much longer, and that means he's going over 11.5 points. By the way, gone over this 6 of 9 games this postseason, 14 of 22 postseason games as a Knick, 8 of his last 11 against the Celtics spanning the last 2 years. You need to attack the paint. I think right now with Kristaps being far from 100%, the paint is a weakness of Boston's. And while you might say, well, don't I look Karl Anthony Towns? Don't I look Mitchell Robinson? Josh Hart penetrates the paint better than most wings, plays much bigger than his 6'4 frame. I think he'll also get some points off putbacks, off offensive rebounds. Give me Josh Hart over 11.5 points, minus $1.25 in this game 4 at Madison Square Garden. Going to take it to the ice before we dive into the diamond, and I'm playing the Edmonton Oilers money line. Now, it's currently minus $1.30, and if that's where it lives and that's where it stays, I'll play it at that price. I think you might be able to shop around, get minus 120, minus 125, check in with our friends at ProfitX. You can request your own odds there. Usually you get better lines there than at most of the standard books. But I'm all in on Edmonton at home this postseason, right? They are 3-1 with that one loss being Saturday's buzzer beater that the Knights pulled off with quite literally 1 second left. If a loss like that doesn't leave you stunned, heartbroken, wondering how the hell that happened as you were getting ready for overtime and an extra 20 minutes of hockey or so, I don't know what does. But this Edmonton team, I love the way that they're going to respond to that, right? This is a team that knows how to win. Last year, on the brink of elimination, pushed the Stanley Cup Finals to Game 7. This Edmonton team knows how to respond to adversity. They've got a great balance of young stars and veteran leadership. And even, by the way, their veteran leaders are pretty young. Connor McDavid's been doing this, damn near a decade by now? And he ain't that old. And then you got Corey Perry, a guy who obviously ton of success in his younger years in Anaheim, has kind of worked around the league a little bit in recent years, knows how to win, knows how to finish. This Oilers team may be the deepest in the league when you look at scorers down every single line. I'm going to lay it with Edmonton at home because I don't think there's any way they drop 2 in a row on home ice, especially following the heartbreak that was Game 3. Give me the Oilers, money line, minus 130. I also like the Oilers exacta in 6, 4-2 Edmonton, plus 240. Really entices the hell out of me. All right, let's get to some plays on the diamond. But before we do that, folks, want to remind you our best bets are brought to you by our friends over at GBank. Make sure you get the GBank Visa Signature Card today. Most credit cards treat sportsbook and gaming transactions like cash advances, even when you put your own money on the card. GBank treats gaming transactions like purchases, so you're saving up to 3 to 5% on cash advance fees on gaming transactions right there. Also, with GBank, you're earning 1% cash back rewards on all eligible sportsbook and gaming transactions and 2% cash back rewards on all eligible purchases. Apply now at vsin.com/GBank. All right, let's take it to the diamond for 3 plays on a Monday. We're starting off early with the Rangers and the Rockies because you've heard me talk about this Rockies team throughout the program. I think they're a disaster, and I'm not buying into a fluky 9-3 win when San Diego was a $3 favorite on Mother's Day with Nick Pivetta opposite German Marquez. I'm not looking at that and saying, oh, the Rockies, they're going to respond well to this Bud Black firing. They're going to get hot. Watch out for the 7-33 Rockies. No. They're 2-17 away from Coors Field. Fluky, freaky things happen at Coors Field. Now they're going to Texas. And I will say, I do think the Rangers might be poised for a hot streak. They just went to Detroit. Bats were non-existent, and they took 2 out of 3 from the Tigers. That's damn impressive. Now they come home. Tyler Mahle is on the bump, who's been nails this year, opposite Chase Dollander in his 7.7 ERA. I'm going Tyler Mahle under 1.5 earned runs allowed. I hate to go 1.5. I usually like this prop more when it's a 2.5. He's gone under 2.5 all 8 starts this year. He's gone under 1.5 6 out of 8 starts this year. The Rockies are a completely different team away from Coors Field. They don't hit away from Coors Field. Minus 105. Tyler Mahle under 1.5 earned. We're riding with him. By the way, and I hate to go run line for a home team, burn me Friday with the Tigers. This is interesting. At DraftKings, you can do run lines on the whole number, not just the half. So if you wanted to go Rangers, instead of minus 1.5 that you'd have to lay about 40, 45 cents, you can go minus 2 at minus $1.18. And there is the push potential there, but you're limiting your risk a little bit. Should you get that push potential? Should they not come close to covering outright? You're saving yourself some money there by going minus 118 on Texas minus 2. It's something I would look at. I'm got it in my back pocket. I'm considering it. But the best bet, Tyler Mahle, under 1.5 earned, minus 105. Couple of plays later in the evening, Padres, team total, over 4.5. Wanted to go Michael King props? Can't. They're juiced to another dimension. Over 17.5 outs is minus $2. Over 6.5 Ks is minus 70 cents. It's absurd. Kikuchi has given up 6 home runs to current Padre hitters in just about 50 at-bats. They've tattooed him. They've hit him with authority. Weather in SoCal right now is beautiful. I think the ball will fly at Petco. Give me the Padres team total over 4.5 plus $1.10, and give me the Arizona Diamondbacks money line at even odds up in the Bay Area. Going to San Francisco. They've got way less travel time than the Giants. The Giants are returning home coming from Minnesota, demoralized as hell, fresh off a sweep. Arizona is just going up from Phoenix to San Fran, fresh off, I think, a great weekend series. You split with the Dodgers. You stole a game early on against Yamamoto. Now, you gave one back. You could have easily won the first 3, but after you lose that wild 8-3 Dodgers turned 11-8 Arizona turned 14-11 Dodgers game Friday night, you respond with a big win Saturday. I love the way the D-backs are playing right now. Merrill Kelly has good numbers against current Giants hitters. Arizona's hitting the cover off the ball. Even their first loss against the Dodgers was a slugfest. Give me the D-backs money line, even odds in San Francisco. And that'll do it for the VSiN Daily Morning Bets. That'll also do it for another terrific edition of Cashing Out with Joe Ceraulo. But folks, the great content here at VSiN never ends. How about VSiN by the books? Dave Ross is back, ladies and gentlemen, alongside Jensen Lewis, 7 a.m. Eastern. Followed by a numbers game with our friends Gil Alexander and Kelly Bidlin at 10 a.m. Eastern, and Money Moves with Stormy Bonantoni and JVT at noon Eastern. Special thanks to the birthday boy, our sensational producer, Jared Moore, for pulling this program together. The rest of our incredible team, Johnny, Jarens, Alexis, Chris, and everyone else who made this program possible. That does it for Cashing Out. I'm Joe Ceraulo. Let's do it again, Damani.